Hi, Jim Ziegler, the Alpha Dawg, and I've got another exciting broadcast for us today. Those of you in the automotive industry, let me ask you a question. Did you ever interview somebody and they looked really great in the interview, and you said, "I have got a winner here," and then somebody else showed up? They didn't live up to what you expected. Are there people out there who are professional interviewers? Well, 20 years ago, I had the pleasure to hook up with Omnia Behavioral Assessments. And you say, well, Jim, I don't believe in that. Well, turnover in the auto industry sort of tells me that you don't have a really good track record of judging the quality of your applicants. So let's talk about what it would save you if you could absolutely judge the future performance of an applicant. What if you could look at an applicant and know that they were going to be successful? And what I've found about Omnia, what if you could know that you really shouldn't hire this person for different reasons? My guest today, executives at the Omnia Corporation, Keather Snyder and Wendy Sheaffer. Hello, Keather.
Hi, good morning.
you, you ready to do this?
Yeah, thanks for having us. It's great to be here, and thanks for joining us, all of you who are out there today.
Fantastic. Oh, we got a viewer saying hello to us already.
I'm sending love. I love it.
Hi,
Wendy Sheaffer, how are you this morning?
I'm very good. Thank you, Jim. Thanks for having us.
Okay, Wendy, start us off. Tell me about Omnia Behavioral Assessments. Why would I do this? What is the benefit? Tell me.
Well, what's great about a behavioral assessment, what I always talk to my clients about is it's getting additional information about your candidate because information is power. So the more data you have to make decisions, the better off you'll be. So I think about hiring like a target practice, right? So we want to get into that center as much as possible. And the more information you have, the more you can increase that hiring reliability. So we measure behavioral dimensions, if you will, whether somebody has those raw building blocks to sell or to be a service technician, for example. So we measure assertiveness.
Now wait a minute. You're telling me that this isn't just a blanket one size fits all, but you've got actually you have tests that are designed for service technicians. You
Well,
have you have tests that are designed for sales professionals.
yes. So the beauty of it, though, is it's one assessment, it's one test that everybody takes the same behavioral assessment, and then we measure it against the criteria for those jobs, whether it's sales, F&I manager, a BDC, service technician, team lead, all of it. So
Wait a second. You just named positions in the car industry that most people don't even know exist. So you've dived into this a little bit. Is that what I'm to understand?
we have. So we've done what we call benchmark studies, and we examine top performers throughout dealerships to, what are the commonalities between these positions? Top performers, what do they share? What behavioral traits do they share? And that's how we build our benchmarks.
One thing I know, and I'm going to ask the same question of Keather in a second. One thing I know through the years, now I've got 20 years of experience with Omnia behavioral assessments. They nail it. I mean, they hit it right on the head. When Omnia said, you might not want to hire this person, and I hired this person, I was never right. I was always mistaken. So a lot of you are hiring based on your gut instincts. Believe me, this is more accurate. Keather, why Omnia?
Well, first of all, I think just like you said, we've been around a long, long time, and we've been working with automotive dealerships, RVs, boats, boat, marine, every kind of auto. industry for years, and we have cracked the code on it. We know what makes a good salesperson. We know how a salesperson is wired. We measure that competitive drive, that drive to win, the resilience, all those pieces that make for a superstar salesperson. And at the same time, we'll make sure that, like Wendy said, you find the best F&I manager, or if you're looking for someone for your BDC, culture fit is such a key. We make sure that they're going to fit in that culture. And that's key. The number one reason why people leave a job after getting in, and usually they'll leave 18 months or sooner if they're not happy, is because of the manager or the job doesn't fit. And we can help you make sure that doesn't happen in your dealerships.
So you have built these accurate profiles for every position in the dealership. They take the test and you pull out the attributes that fit that description.
Correct.
So if they want to see more about you, my other friend at Omnia, Naomi Viglis, and there's Naomi's number. There's the website. I'm going to leave it up for a while, and I'll be bringing it back. If you want to find out more about Omnia, I like to bring this out in case you had other things and you got off the broadcast where you had this early in the broadcast. So anyway, office help, BDC, you're naming specific positions in a car dealership. Tell me about how many assessments you have.
Well, like Wendy said, it's one assessment. So that's the beauty of it. It takes 10 to 12 minutes to take. That's another benefit, is it's very quick and the applicant only needs to take it once. What is beautiful is the different reports that come out of it. So we have a customized report that could be a written narrative for how well this person fits within, again, the role, or we predict how well they're going to fit with the team. You could assess them against the supervisor, staff, or other colleagues. And then we've got an automated report that's even faster. You get those results in a matter of seconds. And again, you get the candidate profile against this benchmark of the position. And then another key aspect is development and retention. Say you hire a superstar, you know they fit, and you're wondering if maybe they'd make a good general manager, or should you move them over into a different position? We've got development.
Promotions, moving people, or have they developmental?
Yes. So you can look at that same, and again, they only have to take that assessment once, but we'll write the report for you that shows, could you consider this position, this person for leadership, or maybe you're thinking about moving someone over in customer service who thinks they want to go sell. We can give you the data that would show, could this person do that successfully and enjoy doing it.
I got to tell you, I've been in top management in dealerships, and I've consulted top management for years. I've been in 1,000 showrooms. I can speak authoritatively with experiential observation. How many times, I'm talking to the GMs out there in the sales, how many times have you taken your top salesperson and moved them to a management position and they were totally unsuited? You assumed because they were great at one position that they would be equally great at another position with an entirely different set of skill sets. What do you think, Wendy?
I mean, that happens all the time. And it's so interesting because sometimes the behavioral traits that you exhibit as a salesperson really do transfer to leadership positions, which just makes it extra confusing. So what we try to do is talk about what those core traits are, so somebody understands what that leadership style is going to look like, and does it fit in with, what type of group this person is managing. So it's one thing to be a salesperson and move into a leadership role, and maybe you're very analytical, you're not great at inspiring the troops, and so we can talk about that. So even if you are putting somebody who might not be the best leadership fit, the great thing about this information is it's a roadmap, so it can show you like what you need to work on for this individual. What training and development do they need to be a great leader? Can you draw that out? So it's so insightful.
I picked up a new buzzword, that competitive drive. I love that. We had that in the pre-show conversation. So you can talk about their personality attributes that might spill over into their job performance.
Yeah, absolutely. And sales is such a pain point for dealerships, or really for any business. We see this all the time. And it's one of the things that we do best is because we measure assertiveness. And assertiveness is where you get that competitive drive, that ability to walk up to a stranger, strike up that conversation, and get to what you want, right? So yeah, it predicts sales performance in that aspect because you've got somebody who is naturally competitive, naturally driven. They're comfortable pushing for what they want, good negotiators, for example. So yeah, I mean, it's such a great tool. And that does translate into a leadership role too. Thank you.
Fantastic. Love the topic.
I love it too.
I'll tell you, I got involved with Omnia, and it's been 25 years ago. I was in Memphis, Tennessee at Larry Lewis Ford. Larry Lewis Ford, and they were using a personality assessment, and it was Omnia. And at the time I said, well, I don't believe in personality assessments. And I took the test myself. And the woman who was in your position at the time, she said, my God, you blew it right off the top of the charts. She said, would you mind working with us and developing some more I guess profiles would be a better term in the day. But so I started working with you guys, and we developed a lot of what's the word I'm looking for, Keather? What are we developing?
Benchmarks. So every
benchmarks. We were developing benchmarks. So anyway, I got involved with you guys, and I fell in love with the company. And any dealer that I've consulted through the years, I've recommended strongly that you get involved with Omnia Group. We're talking about behavioral assessments. If you just tuned in, I've got Wendy Sheaffer and Keather Snyder, who are executives at the Omnia Behavioral Assessments. And you're in Clearwater?
Tampa, Florida.
Tampa.
Oh my, Tampa?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Great place to be.
That's God's country where I wish I lived, I'll tell you. And if you want more information, call Naomi Viglas. She'll give you the information or steer you to the right place. Her number 800-525-7117, extension 1237, or go to the omniagroup.com. Not the Omnia Group, omniagroup.com, and get more information. What else do we need to tell people today, Keather?
Well, I would like to say, while you're talking about the website and Naomi, is try it for yourself. On the website, we do have a try it opportunity, and you can get an ample leadership report just by taking a few minutes to take it. So I think
you're giving away free samples?
Yeah, the best way, like you said, it's how we looped you in, right? Once you got a chance to see it and see for yourself what your profile was, it's really, like Wendy said, it's super insightful. And everyone
through the years, I've asked people to do that.
Mm-hmm.
Take somebody who you really know their best attributes. Take your top producing salesperson and take a free sample with Omnia and see how it nails that person. Take your non-performer, the person you wish was doing a better job performance on. Take that person and see if Omnia doesn't nail that person exactly, all their attributes, everything about them, their competitive drive, their lack of competitive drive, their work habits. I mean, you'd be amazed how many people are professional interviewers. And I've used that phrase for 25 years. Am I wrong, Wendy?
No, I mean, that's exactly what happens. What's really interesting about, as human beings, we're very complicated, right? There's so much that goes into what makes us who we are. And so really what will happen with an individual is they could be untruthful. They could lack work
No.
ethic. I mean, I know. It's like trying to find a nice word. So,
This isn't a lie detector test now.
it is not. No, and that's the thing that we really try to talk about, is that's why gathering this information is so important, is because there are certain things that we don't measure. And I always like to talk about that as much as what we do measure. So, integrity, honesty, work ethic, all of these things go into success. So the more you can puzzle that out and get to the bottom of things, the better off you'll be. And we do have some measures in place that do sort of talk about professional maturity, for example, whether or not somebody is going to go above and beyond. So, it really can pinpoint those things. So, because you do get people in there who are going to tell you whatever you want to hear. I could tell people I'm really assertive, but I'm not. Anybody that knows me would be like,
Expand on that, Keather.
On what she just said about being assertive or not, or
Yeah.
well, I will say one of the other.
Wendy just says she's a complete laydown.
Well, I think again, like she said, like Wendy was saying, in some ways we're complex and it is situational, and so the traits they're a moving target in a little bit of a way, and so there's some real magic in how the traits play off one another. We have 8 columns, 8 measures, and the columns work in pairs. So when you see the report, you'll see what this means. But I do this a lot with my hands. So you can be extremely high in one column and very low in the other, or you could have a mix. And then also it can play out in the situation or how they interact with each other. So in Wendy's case, I'm going to use that as an example because no, she's not naturally assertive, but Wendy's the subject matter expert in our organization, and she's got this dominant trait of perfection, accuracy, every detail. And boy, when Wendy's talking about the detail, that level of confidence comes out. So
that's like my wife. I mean, my wife. I mess with her all the time. We'll be in a restaurant, and I will move the salt shaker to her side of center.
Oh yeah, I got it straight, right? So what we're talking about is natural personality traits. This is you in your resting state while you are out with dinner, out for dinner with friends, or how you're going to act under stress. I like to say it's, you pick up your pen and you write and you don't think about it. You can write with the other hand, but it's awkward, uncomfortable. It might not look right. That's what it feels like to be in the wrong job. You could do it, but you'd be very stressed to do it. And it could be awkward, uncomfortable. People might not really appreciate the output of your work. So the more closely we can get into our comfort zone and get to be who we are naturally, the better you're going to be at your job, the more comfortable you're going to be. And you as leaders, you're going to be a lot more happy with your performers. So
now I've got dealers that have used you guys for the entire 20 years, 25 years that I've known you. And I mean, people don't seem to jump off of it. I mean, they continue to use. Now, a lot of people in the car business right now are saying, well, Jim, we can sell every car we can get. I mean, we have a severe shortage of inventory. It doesn't take sales ability to sell cars. Well, first of all, what I'll say to you about that is that you still have a service department that is the mainstay of your dealership right now. Service is always going to be there. It's always going to be steady. And technicians, people in those positions are increasingly difficult. Service writers. And how many positions do you have, behavioral assessments that fit that position? I'll go back to Wendy on that question. How many positions in a dealership do you have assessments for?
Wendy might have just frozen.
Oh, poor. Take it, Keather.
All right. I would say we have upwards of 40, 50, Jim. I'm looking at a screen right now with them all, and I can't even count them all that quickly. And again, because of what I said earlier, there's nuances. So take, for instance, we've got 4 different customer service roles because it depends on what level of customer service they're in. Are you asking them to be more of an incoming, they're just reacting to what comes off the street and answering the phone? Or are they proactively doing outbound calling? Are you asking them to upsell, cross-sell. Is it a service, customer service? Are they in the service department or are they in the sales department? So multiple roles within a dealership and also the nuances within each role. That's what we benchmark over these. So we just celebrated our 36th anniversary, actually. So after 36 years.
36 years, my gosh.
Yeah. And new roles all the time. I mean, the BDC wasn't around a while back. So when that became popular.
No, the BDC is a relative. Matter of fact, I'm doing a show tomorrow about the BDC. And it's kind of interesting because the business development, technology sales weren't around 20 years ago, 15 years ago.
Yeah, you got social media specialists now. I mean, there's a lot of new jobs being created every single day. And
now, wait a second. You've got behavioral assessments for social media management and really?
Yes. Marketing, absolutely. So as every new role evolves in a dealership, we work with those dealerships to benchmark that position and come up with what are those unique traits that are going to be needed for that.
I got a pretty difficult question I'm going to toss to Wendy. Wendy, you with us?
I am. There were some connection issues there, if you noticed.
Yeah, you had something happen. Let me ask you a question. How much customization will you do for a dealer?
So, I mean, we'll do as much customization as they want. And that's really the great thing about Omnia is we'll take it from off the shelf, choosing what we have as what we call industry standards that you can just go ahead and purchase based on our, research and benchmark studies that we've done over the years. Or you can do your own benchmark study, which is my personal favorite, of course, as an analyst, is for that dealership to profile their top performers so that we can create a benchmark that is specific to them. And we'll also write the report so that it's customized to their job description. So we're using language that you use in your dealership because everybody's a little bit different, of course, and what they'll what they call things or that really. So our text is really driven towards what that dealership wants. So it can be no customization to however much customization as you would like.
Yeah, because I'm sure it's got to be geographic. There's got to be different demographics for different parts of the country, different makes of cars. Your Highline representative is not going to be the same as a Hyundai salesperson, for instance. Yeah, there's a lot of
And especially now that, especially luxury cars have there's a lot to it, right? I mean, there's, they're doing classes now where you've got somebody who's a specialist who's talking to these new car owners and teaching them how to use all of the electronics in the car. So it's very interesting. And it does require a different personality type, maybe somebody who is more consultative, detail oriented to come in post sale and teach them how to use all the bells and whistles that come with that car.
Well, yeah, because there's a trend in the car business now, and I don't know if you're aware of it, but we're very aware of it, where a lot of dealerships are going to A to Z sales, which is when I first got in the automobile industry 48 years ago. When I first got in the car business 48 years ago, the salesperson did everything. We did the finance. We did all the functions. The sales manager was only there to approve the deal once we had finished it. And now we're getting back to that. Now, are you aware of that, Wendy? That we're getting back to A to Z sales?
I wasn't completely aware of that, but I find it very interesting. And I love that because it simplifies things, right? So I think it's a great trend. And we can measure anything. So we can show how somebody is going to work that sales process from beginning to end. So if, for example, you're a very social person, we can talk about how you're going to be better on the front end of the process, but potentially not on the back end. And that gives the sales manager the data they need to coach and develop because each salesperson's coming in with a different strength. And so now for that process A to Z, this person's going to need a different level of coaching and development than the person next to them based on how much attention to detail they have, their level of assertiveness, how social they are. So it will help you kind of determine where in that process somebody's going to need some extra attention.
I can see if a dealership is an A to Z dealership the way we're describing it, where the salesperson basically does the finance, they do everything. They sell all parts of the deal. So when we get to that, we're going to really need behavioral assessments more than ever to know their strengths and weaknesses.
Yeah, because you have more to train on and more to develop. So where somebody's going to be natural, there's always going to be a part of the process that is going to be uncomfortable for somebody. They're working against their natural grain. I love the analogy that Keather used where you're writing with your left hand. So where are they sort of going to be fighting against themselves so you can develop that trait and help them be more successful in that area?
Yeah, Keather, I hate to burst your bubble. I can write on a blackboard and take the pen and continue writing.
I'm not surprised to hear that, Jim. And in every audience, I always do get a few who are multifaceted and ambidextrous, so I'm not surprised you are. Yeah,
it was amazing. In elementary school, they first discovered that I could do that, and they bring other teachers. Look at this kid.
That's very cool.
That is. That's especially on a whiteboard.
So yeah, I had posed the question to Wendy. A to Z sales. Now, the entire industry is not doing that, but people are adamantly opposed to it. There's people that are hybrid. But in other words, with the shortening of the sales process, there is a lot of things happening in the front end, the variable operation, that are going to be very customizable. Expand on that for me, please.
On the customizable part of it?
Yeah, customizable as far as the different skills that these sales representatives. Now, this A to Z process still has managers lurking in the background, but they don't interfere with the deal, if you understand what I'm saying.
Mm-hmm.
So
you got to make
so you're going to have
sure
to
that individual can handle it from beginning to end on their own,
right?
With autonomy, which is another thing that we measure: is the person able to make decisions on the spot? Do they do well with
Okay, that's what I was looking for. Their
Yeah.
decision-making ability, their competitive drive. Will they still hold a reasonable amount of profit?
Yes.
Just
Yeah. And one of the this isn't one of our traits, but it's one of, I like to call it the magic behind the science in our assessment, is we do look at things like Wendy said, professional maturity and even judgment. Does this person think through decisions, or do they make them on the fly, not considering the consequences? So you would, in this case, when you're looking at that A to Z sales process and someone having the freedom to make some of those decisions on their own, you're going to want to make sure those are what we call within range and optimum on that assessment as well.
Are they a quick decision maker? Are they a slow thinker?
Right.
Are they indecisive?
Right.
All that comes out. We're talking about Omnia Behavioral Assessments, not only for hiring people, but for promoting people, judging their development. There's all sorts of things. Ladies and gentlemen, if you just tuned in to broadcast, this is one of the most accurate tools I ever used, and I believe in it wholeheartedly. And I've had people argue with me and say, well, Jim, we still use DISC that was invented in the 20s, well, DISC is such a broad brush. What I found with Omnia is it's specific. It gets right down into the laser targeting of who these people are, what motivates them, what moves them, and the personality traits, the things about this person that would make them suitable or not suitable for a position, a promotion, all sorts of things. Tell me about some other positions that you've developed assessments for, Wendy.
Within the auto industry?
Oh, yeah. Well, we're not talking about anything else here. No, this is auto.
So all the service technician rules, service advisor, which is a really interesting one because it's a bit of a hybrid position where you've got to have that technical knowledge and expertise and also a little bit of sales aptitude, right? Because what else can you do? Come in for that next checkup and everything. So the service advisor roles. We do even some lot stuff, which is very interesting when we have dealerships ask for like porters, body shop, all sorts of, so the techie positions, which is, we also measure that analytical aptitude, attention to detail, which is what you're looking for, low sociability, which is me. So somebody who can really concentrate for long periods of time on, an engine repair or detailing a car. So it's, all of those roles as well, sort of and office positions too, those, accounting and receptionist and all those roles that are just integral to running that dealership, the behind the scenes, the parts counter, parts manager, all of
that. I tell you, when I took the first Omnia test, and I've taken several of them through the years, I found out some things about myself that I had to admit, although I begrudgingly admitted, I have no technical ability whatsoever. My paperwork's atrocious, and you pretty well predicted that I have no analytical ability whatsoever. I'm an aggressive, amiable laugh. I'm a friendly guy. People like me. I like people. I can sell a car in an elevator.
And that's what we, that's what we measure. And that's the great, that's what's so great about the tool, especially taking it back to sales. And I always do is I talk about it like baking a cake, if you will. What's the recipe? And the recipe is, in order to have a great cake, you have to have flour and sugar. In order to have a great salesperson, you have to have aggressiveness, assertiveness, and resilience, right? That ability to brush off rejection, don't let it impact your confidence, and move on. And we measure those two traits, assertiveness and resilience, as those are the key factors into success for sales. Now, the rest is like flavoring. So, Jim, you're an amiable person, so that's a relationship-oriented seller. But some sellers are more consultative and analytical, so they've got maybe a more low-key sales style, but they're still aggressive and resilient. So we're, talk about it in that respect. And what does make us different from DISC is that sort of level of intensity and degree of behavior. So anybody out there that knows Jim, his column 1, which is assertiveness, is through the roof. So the higher that is, the more aggressive, right? Yeah. And we measure those degrees of behavior. And sometimes it is important to know. So if you've got somebody who is super aggressive, what will that mean? Will they be too forceful with customers? And so what are some, development opportunities just to sort of help them manage around that very dominant trait?
Well, see, I would not make a good service advisor. Because with behavioral assessment, I don't have patience. Patience is, and analytics. What is the first 4 letters of analytics? Quit it. I don't do that. So, but once again, the exact opposite of who I am makes a great service writer.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I mean, attention to detail, listening to the customer, getting to the heart of what their problem is. I mean, they're coming in, they're talking about their car, the sound it's making, and that person has to be really good at asking questions and getting into, what the problem is so they can give as much information as possible to the service tech behind the scenes. So, yeah.
I'm already saying, stop being such a wimp. And Okay, so BDC. Now, you mentioned BDC, which surprised me because I didn't even know you knew what a BDC was. So,
we've done some great research on that, some benchmark studies with top performers. So that is one of our areas, BDC. It's, it's a salesperson too. It's more of an inside salilesperson. So
it's going to be the ultimate salesperson of the future.
Yep.
Interesting.
Yes.
They come in through the keyboard. They do not come in walking on the lot.
Yes.
So tell me what you've done. I'm going to ask both of you that same question. Tell me what you've done with BDC.
So measuring top performers within those environments, those BDC environments, to see what those commonalities are. So of course, it's still, because we measure those raw traits, you are still seeing a lot of assertiveness and a lot of resilience, because it, like you said, it boils down to a sales position, but they are more on the analytical side, less social, comfortable sitting at that keyboard and doing those chats with more attention to detail too. So there's maybe more of that balance of resilience and attention to detail to pick up the fact that you are sort of writing, conversing all day on a keyboard, like you said. So
well, that's amazing, because with the BDC, I have said for many years, you can't beat salespeople hard enough to stay in a phone or internet room environment. That is not their patience level.
Yeah.
Keather, what do you think?
Yeah, it's interesting. I like that you asked this question, because beyond the assessments, one of the other things that Omnia does is really help our clients think about the whole life cycle, the environment, the culture. And I've been involved in a couple of sessions talking about the BDC environment, and really considering the individual for that role and making sure they are going to be able to sit at that desk and bang out, 60, 70, upwards, I've heard of 100 calls a day, or looking at the internet and finding those.
100 calls a day is the benchmark today.
High volume activity. In an environment where you are, going to be pressured to have that activity and that volume. So we also recommend things, like looking at the whole team environment they're going to be working in, looking at when you're thinking of the hiring process, if you can simulate that activity, if you can bring that individual in and have them actually do some role playing before you make the decision to put them in the job, the better off you are. So that's been one of the other nuances we've seen with the BDC. Is retention's key, right? You hire slow.
But you have personality assessments. You have personality assessments designed for BDC.
We do for both the leader of that role as well as the representatives themselves.
The management and the rank and file BDC operators. That is incredible, because nobody's got that. So a BDC and the internet sales is increasingly important.
Yeah.
So now you talked about the body shop. What would be different than the service technician? I don't know.
Well, from a personality perspective, there's not a lot of difference. You are still dealing with a detail-oriented, analytical, more support person. But what we do is that we write the text that comes out on the report specific to the job. So instead of talking about engine work, we're talking about body work. So that's part of the customization, so that the leader reading that report isn't having to figure things out because it's not consistent with the job. So the personality types are very similar, yes, but our text will be different. The reports will be specific to body shop versus the service tech role.
So in other words, right now, if they call Naomi, and there's Naomi's number right there, 800-525-7117, extension 1237, omniagroup.com, you will allow these people to have a free test drive. I mean, they can kick the tires, spin the wheels, just find out whether or not this is, because I'll tell you what, there's a lot of general managers. Pay attention. A lot of general managers and dealers out there right now, decision makers. You have no idea what your BDC does. Come on, admit it. You are absolutely lost. And here you're hiring people to work in your BDC, and you're depending on somebody to interview these people that probably isn't qualified to do the interview. I mean, they might be good at their job, but are they really qualified to make a decision? And you bring these people on, how much money do you lose by hiring an employee that fails?
Yeah.
How much does it cost you to hire and train and have a learning curve where business is lost during that learning curve?
Yeah.
And you're losing business. It's expensive to onboard a new employee. And then you find out that they were the wrong fit from the beginning. They blow out. And here you repeat the cycle again because you made a bad decision the first generation of hiring. And when you get to the third generation of hiring, and you're still making bad decisions, how much money are you losing? You don't know the real profile for a BDC. Let's develop it together. Get with Omnia and we will develop. I say we. I'm thinking I'm part of this company. I'm really not. but you know, I feel bonded with these guys. I'll tell you honestly. Let Omnia develop the profile that fits your dealership,
Right,
for each position that you hire for. And it'll not only save you a lot of money, it'll create longevity.
Mhm.
Longevity. I like that word. Listen to that. I'm starting to be an analyst myself. I wanted to get off my soapbox, but check out Omnia. They'll give you a free test drive on any position that you are really interested. Take your best person in that position. Let's benchmark and see if we nail them, and we can find out exactly who they are, what their traits are, and it'll amaze you. Because I've had people say, "What the damn." Yeah. Help me out here, Wendy. I'm sort of talking in circles because I'm really excited about the subject.
I mean, it's so interesting, human behavior. I mean, there's so much to get excited about, but I think the key is getting that data to make great decisions, because we all need help. And so the more help that you can get, the better off you'll be. And I loved how you were talking about the interview process too, because it really isn't a skill that people learn. They learn it and they pick up clunky over time. You know, I've sit in my first interview and I'm just sort of building on that knowledge. So the great thing too about, just to give Omnia a plug, is that we do offer these training webinars where we help people with behavioral interviews.
Oh, you never told me about that before.
Yeah. And it's all included. It's all part of the deal.
right.
Wait, training webinars on how to do what?
So interview, hire, design a process.
You have webinars. You've been holding back on me. Did you ever see the movie Home Alone?
Yeah.
Yes. I buried the lead, Jim. Sorry about that.
So part of the package is you've got webinars. I'm sure these are all stored on site somewhere.
We do. We have live webinars every quarter. And then, of course, we also have them saved so that if anybody wants to access them at any time.
There's a library.
A library of training webinars. And then we also offer the interpretation training webinar and how to use the assessment. We have a live session every month. The first Friday of every month, we have a live session.
Every first Friday of every month, and different skill sets that people need interviewing. What else are the subjects for the webinars? What other subjects other than interviewing?
We take on a lot of current trends that are happening. We talk about employee engagement and how to increase engagement. We talk about rewards, recognition. We talk about different traits in leadership.
Rewards. So we're talking about motivational things that you can learn and use in your workplace.
Right. I talk about the whole employee life cycle. Right. It's from attracting people into your dealership all the way through to their development and their succession, and then maybe even considering how an appropriate offboarding goes once the person's going to retire or leave. How do you leave that legacy and retain and train? So we look at that whole picture. I've
never heard that term, offboarding. Does that mean like firing?
In a productive way, it's the choice of leave. So it's that entire life experience of the employee that hopefully is going to stay at your dealership for a long, long time. But at some point they go. So.
I never knew how to fire people correctly. You ever see a baseball game where there's a really boring umpire and the umpire says, "You're out, you're out, you're out." I wasn't that guy. I was like, "You're out of here." I wasn't very good about firing people.
Our goal is that you don't have to do that, because if you hire the right person for the job, the likelihood is they're going to do really well.
Yeah. So I never knew that you had skills that you were teaching, like how to handle, reward
Yep.
employees. I never knew you had those webinars.
Yeah. And so you can go right to the Omnia Group website that's being shown across the screen, and there's a resource page, and all of our webinars are there. We also write a weekly blog. Every single Monday morning, there's a new blog that gets published on our social media and our website that, again, talks about something around the employee life cycle. So we give hiring tips, interview tips, reward and recognition, leadership coaching, performance management. We tell you how to talk to you about how to do the best performance review when that time of year comes up, as well as how to coach and develop all year long. So we cover all those topics in blogs and webinars. And then we have live people.
I'll tell you honestly, I've got some huge dealership groups that watch my broadcasts, and they've got 15 stores. Some of them have 20 stores, and they have HR departments. Mr. and Mrs. Dealer, this is a tool that you need to add to your HR. This is, you've got 20 dealerships, and you're hiring that many people, and you've got that kind of turnover or lack of turnover. You really need to take a look at Omnia Behavioral Assessments, omniagroup.com. Call Naomi Viglis, 800-525-7117, right on the screen, extension 1237, and arrange for a free demo where you could take a look. And don't take our word for it. I mean, we're willing to show you. Listen to me, I think I'm part of your company. Omnia is willing to show you exactly what we can do. As we wrap up, what have we not told people? I'll start with you, Keather. What have we not told people about the company?
There's only one thing. Well, then I'll say two things because you just said the company. We pride ourselves in our customer support. So not only do you have the webinars and you can replay them or you can come watch them live, our blogs, we have real life people still there to help you. No robots, all individuals. Every time you run a report, or the very first time you run a report, you're going to get a call and an email from one of our people to say, hey, do you need help, or do you want to talk about that candidate? So we pride ourselves in live customer service.
Live customer service, US based?
Yes.
Yeah. I love people from other countries, but I hate to pick up a phone and get India. US based, live people. You're not going to get robots. You're going to get live human beings with expertise to help you.
Yeah.
I mean, we're not just going to put a warm body on the phone with you. It's going to be people that have the expertise to answer your questions, to coach you through situations. All humor aside, and we've had a lot of fun with this broadcast, but all humor aside, you need this. And hiring Omnia is a no-brainer. If you don't do it, you have no brain. What have we not told people, Wendy?
Well, I'm going to second what you said there, Jim, but no, I think that I love that we have live support, which is great. They are all trained analysts, which means they have good attention to detail. They're going to listen. They're going to have the expertise to answer those questions. So I just want to second that too.
Fantastic. Well, ladies and gentlemen, as we wind down our visit today, I want to recap. Omnia Behavioral Assessments. I've been doing business with these people, recommending them to my clients. And if I recommend somebody to my clients, my reputation's on top of it. And I don't do that lightly. And all humor aside, and we've had a lot of fun in this broadcast, you need this. A lot of people in your management, well, I'm good at interview. No, you're not. Excuse me. Don't let your ego get in the way of good decisions. You've been hiring people on a wing and a prayer. I mean, if they could fog a mirror, you've been hiring them, and they blow out. It's very expensive to go through the employees. The turnover in our businesses. The turnover in our business is an indicator of how poorly we do this. So anyway, people don't blow out of dealerships because we didn't have a good job. It's the best job in the world. They blow out because we hired the wrong people and tried to make them fit into something that they don't fit in. They would have been better in another position in the dealership. Omnia has behavioral assessments for every employee position. If they don't have it, they'll create it. They'll work with you. So live people on the phone. What more can you ask? There's the contact information. If you're watching this on the replay, you can stop and rewind a online broadcast and get that phone number and do it right now. Okay, guys, let's wave goodbye to the audience and say
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you for having us. Have fun with it.